Thursday. Some people say it's Throwback Thursday. Nah, it's time for the Streakers Island podcast. Of course, we got Dan More for your money and the CEO himself, Chazzy. We have a jam-packed show. It is so jam-packed. We have to dump the jam in the drain to fit all this content in, all right? The NFL boycott hurt. The Utah hockey club's looking at potentially finally becoming a real name, or are they? Do we like the Pro Bowl in the NFL? Some say yes, some say no. NHL headlines, CFL updates, and so much more. But let's jump right in to the Pro Bowl. So I'm going to age myself here and say I remember when the Pro Bowl used to be full contact and they would play full out football. Pretty much just be who anyone was in the Super Bowl wouldn't play in the Pro Bowl. Now it's flag football, and no one wants to be in it. Is there really even a point of this Pro Bowl anymore? Like, I get they want an All-Star thing, but you're looking at the NHL, they're pulling away from the All-Star. You're looking at the NBA, it's the All-Star weekend's becoming a joke there. The CFL, they don't even do an All-Star anything. It's just rosters that they put out and that fans vote, and that's the end of it. I don't like the flag football whatsoever. I get they don't want players getting hurt, but to me, it's quite boring to just do flag football. It's not entertaining. It's not engaging. Maybe they need to do 6-on-6 football or something to try to make it more interesting. But Chazzy, I'm going to throw this to you. What do you want to see with the Pro Bowl? What changes do you want to see, or do you like it? Do you like flag football?
I was going to say, don't you love that fun, fast-paced flag football? My question is it the right timing for the game? Do we have it at the beginning of the season as these guys are getting into shape, heading into the season, then have some sort of implications on the season, home field, like the World Series, like baseball did with theirs, playoff seeding, whatever. But I think if you're going to make this sort of more attractive for the players, you have to incentivize them. And like these guys are playing in one of the most physical combat sports that we all love. So give them some cash, give them some sort of guarantees. These guys' contracts are not guaranteed to go out and play in an exhibition game and give it their full out without that sort of incentive or some guarantee that if they do get hurt, like these guys got families and they got a livelihood to worry about as well, other than this one sort of Pro Bowl All-Star game.
Now, see, my issue is if you talk about paying them, we did look at when the NHL has done that. When Connor McDavid won his $1 million, then there was a bunch of controversy. So you could give it to charity or if he was going to keep it, which he eventually did give it to charity. But I think it more needs to be more of a bragging rights thing. And maybe
you look what the NBA has done over the last 2 years with that in-play tournament. Mm-hmm. Cash incentive for the players. Right. They give it out. They give it all going into it's their regular season. They're giving it more, trying to entertain us more. But as it's sort of been working.
We can say sort of because NBA ratings and attendance have tanked over the last couple of years. But I do agree
they're trying to do something.
Adding more, creating more buzz around it. But more for your money. I want you to get into this a little bit here, and I'm assuming you don't like flag football whatsoever. So what should they do to change it up?
Oh, $1 million question. I mean, I think it'd be cool if they had some what was this word? Obstacles in the way. Maybe instead of having players getting injured, maybe you have like a skill-based talent. It's like the players have to forward through certain objects and certain holes. So, they time how fast they can run down the field, make more like a skills competition thing. I don't know the full details of that in football, but I certainly do stuff like that in practice all the time. I think something like that would be a lot more interesting. And to your point, Chazzy, so I kind of disagree with you, Mr. CEO. I think when players are getting paid millions of dollars, I don't think they need an extra $100,000 to be incentivized. I think it's a good opportunity for them. It's a marketing gimmick for more fans to support them. They can sell more memorabilia from playing in the game and different things like that. And it just builds up their own skill weighting of just getting into for Pro Bowl. So I think that's essential enough, I would think.
So
I would say if this was a different sport and these contracts were guaranteed, great. This is a physical like sport, like one of the most dangerous. So yes, they are making thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, some of them, but some are not. Some can get injured on a play. So if we want the competitiveness and we want the best from the players, just like us in our day 9 to 5 jobs, you want the best out of us. We want raises. We want more money, and you're going to get more out. So that's just what I'm saying. If it was a different sport, hockey guaranteed, basketball guaranteed contracts, I would agree with you. Just in this, if you're going to guarantee contracts, then I would agree with you.
Well, it
now,
makes sense. Yeah.
now here's an interesting one that I doubt this would ever happen. But let's move the Pro Bowl to after the Super Bowl and put the best players in every position versus the Super Bowl champions. So take the best players from all these different teams and have them play against the Super Bowl champion. Even if you did a 2-touch rule or like a lighter hit if you're worried about injuries, that might be a way for some bragging rights for a team that just won the Super Bowl. That's a way to really prove you really are the best team in the NFL. And for the guys who didn't win the Super Bowl, maybe that's a chance for a little bit of revenge. Maybe a Josh Allen revenge episode, which, by the way, Josh Allen pulled out of the Pro Bowl. It's tough when the top players pull out of the Pro Bowl as well.
Can you blame him after what happened, though? Like how the league and the officiating just completely canceled him out of the Super Bowl. He's done it want to really be an ambassador for the league. Let's be honest. He's going to be an honorable guy and not say anything, but I think him pulling out really sends a message.
But I'm going to bring to that point there. You're fed up with your 9 to 5 job, like working 9 to 5 like Dolly Parton. You're still going to work either way. So this brings up the whole spoiled brat.
But this is not a part of his 9 to 5 job. This is not in his contract. This is extracurricular activities. If you have a functioning brain, and if you're fed up with your 9 to 5 job, you're not going to put in an extra mile. You're not going to put in that overtime. And this is what Josh Allen is doing. I give him credit for doing it.
This isn't on the script, but screw it. You set it up. I'm throwing you the softball pitch here. Are NFL players quiet quitting?
Are they what?
Are they quiet quitting? For anyone who doesn't know what quiet quitting is, that means if your job is 9 to 5, you show up at 9 o'clock, you leave at 5 o'clock, you take your hour lunch, you don't do a single extra thing than what's on your job description. You won't even hold the door for somebody. You are going in, you're doing your very specific role, and then you leave. So are we seeing that from players in the NFL then who, potentially are fed up with the officiating, which I don't want to get into officiating too much at this point. I think we beat that horse until it was dead on the last episode.
It's not just officiating, though. It's the league in general because they control the officiating.
Again, I think we went over that a lot last week, but it does raise the question on some of those issues. But I do think the NFL has to do something with the Pro Bowl. Whether it's the timing that they're doing it, whether it's the style, maybe you get rid of the game itself and just make it a pure skills competition. Maybe even you do a skills competition with recently retired guys versus the superstars of today. Have like Tom Brady and Josh Allen go head to head in quarterback drills. That would be exciting. You'd bring nostalgia in, and people would love to have that nostalgia feeling back. But let's move on to the Super Bowl. We're not going to get into our picks yet, ladies and gentlemen. So let's not get into that yet. I see more for it. He's like, I want to say it. There's been trending on X, formerly known as Twitter. You have to say that, or else people are like, ooh, what's X? Going on hashtag boycott the Super Bowl. There are a lot of people who are saying this is the Super Bowl that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted the Chiefs versus the Eagles except Chief fans and Eagle fans. Realistically, everyone going into the playoffs wanted the Lions versus the Bills, but the Lions just decided to turn that over. But why? What's the issue? Is it the officiating? Is it the iffy halftime show? Is it just the lack of excitement within the game? I mean, do they need to gamify more things that are going on at the Super Bowl and make it more of a larger event, like a larger than life, to get more people in? Because realistically, now you got all the Swifties in, but are we losing the hardcore football fans? So, Chazzy, I'm going to start with you on this. Like, what do you actually think people are going to boycott the Super Bowl, number one, or do you think they're just putting that on social media so they can be keyboard warriors and try to get their piece in?
I feel we go through this deja vu moment every year before the Super Bowl and have this question. It seems it's a little bit different this year. Something in the air, a little bit different. Some theories and officiating, as we've talked about. But like your diehard, hardcore football fan is not going to miss this game, and I don't think they care too much about that halftime. They just want to see solid football. They enjoy the game, get together with friends and family, and enjoy the last game of the season because the power the NFL has, they own a day of the week. They're trying to own more days of the week. It's a huge engine. You got a solid core of like those huge solid core of passionate fans, right? But that's what passion brings out in us all is the ups and downs. We agree, don't agree, but that's going to bring everybody's opinion to the forefront, and that's the NFL is going to be on the front page. That's what they want. We're talking about them, and that just brings more publicity.
Now, mind you, when you say it's not the halftime show, I do want to point out when you look at the TV ratings, the peak of the Super Bowl is the halftime show. And I want to talk about this a little bit with the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. I think that was a mistake, making him the lead guy, and I'm going to tell you why. When they picked Kendrick Lamar, for anyone who doesn't follow hip hop, him and Drake were having this humongous rap beef, and Kendrick Lamar was the biggest name in rap since the Eminem MGK situation. Then the beef died down, and now nobody cares about it. Kendrick put out his album about two and a half months ago. Decent, good project. But the hype is kind of gone off him. His guest isn't anything spectacular, especially for old heads. And I'm going to be honest, anyone who's going to compare this to a hip hop Super Bowl halftime show is going to go to the Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar, which he did his thing there. But I think that could be part of the issue here, is that halftime show might not be enough to engage people to actually want to watch the whole thing. To be honest, I am shocked Taylor Swift isn't doing it, like her or not her, or not her. She would have brought in a lot more viewership. I still won't be shocked if she ends up performing something during the Super Bowl week. As we know, there's media week and everything going on there. That could be a way to hype it up. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, and I don't know if the city of New Orleans is going to get behind it as much. And Dan, I'm going to throw this to you about a rapper named Lil Wayne who looks like he's not going to be included, who's kind of the king of New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shocked that he didn't get the halftime show. I know maybe he's not as current as Kendrick Lamar, but he still has a huge following. And Kendrick Lamar was a small part of the whole Eminem, Dr. Dre type of deal. And I don't think he can top off what he did there. And I think being in New Orleans and Lil Wayne being the king of New Orleans, he should have done the right honorable thing and had him on as a guest. Maybe behind the scenes, Kendrick Lamar did ask him as a guest and he didn't accept. We don't know the full story. But Kendrick Lamar and Lil Wayne have worked on music together. Look at Mona Lisa. It's an amazing track that they did together. So they have worked together to get along. I think it should have been done. And really, I'm just going to say, as a Drake fan, I think Drake would have been a way better halftime show than Kendrick Lamar anyway. Drake is more on mainstream media, has more mainstream fans, and is much bigger internationally versus the Super Bowl. Let's face it, even though it's America's game, people from all over the world watch it. So maybe Drake denied it. He has a past of denying shows like that. But I think Kendrick Lamar was just, no disrespect to him, but I think it was the wrong pick.
Now, Not Like Us is going to become a more for your money diss. But but let's talk a little bit about, hypothetically, let's say people are going to boycott the NFL, which I don't think enough people will to make this an issue. But let's say they do. There are more options now than there's been in a long time. You still have the Canadian Football League, which does have a really strong following in the States for people who aren't aware of that. But you do also have the XFL and the UFL, which I see more for your money chuckling over there about it, but it's actually can have some entertaining football in it. And you do wonder, as those with the NFL starting to frustrate more and more fans and players, will you see some more people say, you know what, I'll take less money to go to a league that I feel is more is fair, a league that feels more proper? And that is something I do wonder if we're going to see in the near future. I mean, for anyone who doesn't watch these other leagues, I would seriously give them a chance, especially the Canadian Football League, as it's a very different brand of football. But same with the XFL and UFL. That's where the NFL got their strange kickoff from, which they have confirmed that that is coming back next year because they feel
Oh,
it's done what it was supposed to do. I didn't know it was
which is
supposed to
what?
put me to sleep. But they say apparently we're getting more kick returns. If you want more kick returns, just push the kicker back 15 yards. Bam, more kick returns.
Hmm.
And if they can keep kicking it into the end zone or make it where there's more of a penalty if you kick it into the end zone
Mhm.
for the other team to maybe run it out. Everyone makes fun of the Rouge, but the Rouge is something that brings in more points. So for anyone who doesn't know what the Rouge is, if the ball goes into the end zone on a kickoff and the player takes a knee, or the ball goes right out of the field all the way past the end zone, the kicking team gets 1 point. So do we see something like that just for kickoffs? I'm not saying missed field goals because even I'm a little iffy on that one, but for the NFL, just on kickoffs. Again, it would make players more willing to run the ball out, as kick returns are one of the most exciting things in football. But Chazzy, let's talk here a little bit. You and I will lock eyes. Very cute. Um, do if you were a frustrated NFL fan, would you consider maybe giving some of these leagues more of a shot to try to fill that football energy that you're really craving?
I'd have to give him more time as an NFL fan and following the NFL for his pretty much your whole life. They got to show more consistency and maybe more of a solid TV deal, more of a staying in one spot, and more of that off-season filler that we all believe or think it is at the moment. Oh, what's the next league? Like pretty much once the Super Bowl happens, football fans are shut off until preseason in August, right? So if they can show that, but on a player specific, if they can sort of work it with some of these they need star power. So if you can get some of these star players, incentivize them with a base salary and do what some of these UFC fighters, they'll get a percentage of merchandise, incentivize them on some sort of like your name sells and you share in the piece of pie, right? So if you can incentivize players and bring some names over, then it would be interesting to see what happens and the momentum that the alternative leagues have.
Speaking of pie, pumpkin pie, greatest pie. But or 3.14. But I could see what you mean there if you could incentivize some of these. Take Danny Dimes, for example. You incentivize a guy like him to come to the XFL. That's a bigger name. That's a guy NFL fans have known and maybe feel they got a bit of a bum rap with the Giants. Maybe that's a way to get it. Or why not let more of these players play in both leagues? We're seeing that with the
Yeah.
XFL and the CFL. They're playing a full season in the XFL. Then they're jumping into the CFL. Now, the XFL and the NFL, we're seeing it too, but not as much. Maybe with some of these practice roster guys, maybe they should be coming to the XFL or the UFL to get that more reps, more experience, more high competitive football. It will bring in more talent into these other leagues. And then also you have more of a story where these leagues can be working together to build their own platforms. But Morpheum, I want to throw this to you. You don't seem to have any use for the XFL or the UFL, which is fine. I know you watched it, you didn't find it entertaining. So, what do these leagues need to do to try to bring these fans in? They got to pull on the rope and go, "Ugh." What do they need to do?
I think with those two leagues, I agree with Chazzy there. TV deals are a big thing. Like, where do I even find the information on the XL? Well, UFL, I can't even name one team or one player. Maybe that sounds bad, but that's the God honest truth. I know Buffalo Thompson played in one of the leagues for a season, but besides that, I don't know any of it. I think we need better quality of players, like star power players. Like Buffalo Thompson's a great star, but why not get more players like from the CFL and NFL playing both leagues? I think that's a great idea. Then you worry about injuries and contracts, but cross that bridge when you get there. But I hate to bring this point up, but I'm going to bring it up. If we're talking about giving the NFL competition and keeping NFL on the toes, back in the 90s, some people may know the CFL actually had a couple of teams in America, and that gave another option to the NFL. CFL's got the big TV deal with TSN and CTV, so you don't have to worry about that. We know what they said on previous episodes that the CFL needs at least one more team because they don't have enough roster spots for the talent in the league, like quarterbacks, for example. So maybe you add a 10th team out east, out in Halifax, and maybe you add 2 teams in America somewhere and make the CFL both in Canada and America. It happened before, it didn't work, but maybe in a new economy, a new era, a new TV deal, it's a new, more exciting game. CFL is an exciting game, different ball, different field. It could bring some attention to it. So I'll throw that idea out there.
An interesting point with that as well. So back in the 90s, there wasn't a US TV deal.
Right.
ESPN every now and then would show a game, but now you have CBS, who's picking up more and more games every year. You have
Right.
CBS Sports, who they've been taking the CFL, and I think you have more disgruntled NFL fans than, correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't born until 94, but correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember a time when NFL fans were this disgruntled. Yes, the Tom Brady era fans were frustrated, especially with things like Deflategate. But I don't remember balls hitting the ground and them calling them catches. Something the passer when he didn't touch him being 15-yard penalties. We go back
Tom
2 years
Brady
ago
battled.
to the Eagles versus the Chiefs. The phantom pass interference call when the guy just went soft kitty and basically gave him a little pat on the back. So I think we are seeing American fans especially are craving something different. So maybe the CFL or the XFL or the UFL, if they play their cards right, could be that something different. And when I want to say different, we've talked about the XFL and the UFL, what they need to do. I think they need to make the game different. It's too similar to the NFL. Why not make some more crazy rules? Let's go for it. You can have no timeouts. No timeouts whatsoever.
Five downs.
Let's go 5 downs, but you got to get 20 yards to get a first down. Let's mix up the game a little bit. You guys can laugh at me, but it would make it more interesting. Can you imagine football picture American football with a 30-second play clock, less timeouts, less challenges, more penalties for players who are injured and then they're back out there running around like a maniac 2 plays later? Maybe this would get people more into this game if it was different. Look at the KHL versus the NHL, and I know we're talking Russia versus North America, but the KHL has some more interesting things. 3-on-3 hockey in overtime, they'll pull their goalie. I was watching a KHL game, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Then it was a crazy flurry, and then the other team got it. They're quickly skating their player back to the bench, and their goalie's trying to fly out and jump to the net. It was exciting. So maybe the XFL and the UFL, I think the CFL is different enough, but maybe they need to try to expand the brand of football, make it more interesting, get the fans more involved. But you know what we need to get involved? Our sponsors. So we're going to take a quick break, hear about this amazing app called Streakers. You might have heard of it from the Streakers Island podcast, powered by Streakers. But stay right there. Don't move. If you move, oh no. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. We'll be right back, right after this break.
Come on in! Oh, there's an opportunity knocking right there. All right, Streakers Nation.
Money!
Big news! We have more for your money joining the Streakers Nation and the team. It takes a village to do something that we want to pull off. We're so excited. So download the latest Streakers app. Watch for the updates. Watch for more happening. Coming for more for your money. Let's go streaking.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. Whether you are out and about getting your groceries, you're out there touching grass, living life, make sure you got the earbuds in, speakers
Touching
on,
grass.
listening to the episode. Now,
Right.
Let's jump into the Utah Hockey Club. Yes, that is the name of their team. In case you didn't know, they're a club that plays hockey. Now, they're looking into renaming their team, obviously. And they're thinking about actually keeping the Utah Hockey Club as their name. They've narrowed it down to 3 names. They originally had 4, but the Utah Yeti is out due to the Yeti mugs and all the overpriced Yeti stuff. $55 for a dog bowl, by the way. That's insane. But
500 for a cooler.
They will not. Oh yeah, the cooler. Don't even get me started. I'm not cool enough to spend that much money on a cooler.
It's an amazing cooler, though. It's like the Rolls Royce of cooler.
But that ice stays cold.
Yeah,
and it stays
100%.
frozen. It's insane. Those
100%.
There you go. If you're looking for cooler advice, make sure to tune into the Streakers Island podcast Tuesdays and Thursdays. But we have the Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Mammoth, and Utah Washa, which is and created by a mythical snow creature that they want to honor.
Mythical.
And a mountain range. None of these names really roll off the tongue. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I would stick with Utah Hockey Club. It feels kind of rustic, kind of older. Might actually be kind of fun still.
You're stealing my notes.
All right, more for it. I'm not even reading the notes. I'm supposed to lead, not read. But talk to me then. Talk to me, baby. What do you think here? You like the name Utah Hockey Club?
I really do. I didn't like it when it first came out. I thought it was for new. I know they did things really fast with Arizona last year, so it made sense. But the more I get used to it, I kind of like it. You know, look at all the old school soccer teams football teams, we'll call them in Europe. They literally call it the football club. Look at Toronto FC. It stands for Toronto Football Club. So I kind of like the hockey club. I think it kind of brings a European vibe to it almost. And as dumb as it sounds, I also really like their jerseys. I think their jerseys are simple. They're cool. They don't look like a bloody high highlighter there the way some of them do. So I'm one of the crazy people saying just keep the name because, as you say, Jacob, the other names don't roll off the ton.
Chazzy, what are your thoughts? There you go. Now I can speak. Do you like the Utah Hockey Club? It's going to be one of those 3. Like they've already said that. It's one of those 3. It's fan voted. What are your thoughts there? If you were a Utah fan, you're sitting on the edge of your seat for the name. What are you thinking?
So when they first came out and said Utah Hockey Club, it sort of like rubbed me like a soccer club, and I didn't know if I really liked it at the time. It's obviously worn on me, but the Mammoth is not bad. Like Mammoth, when I think of Colorado Mammoth in the NLL lacrosse. So Utah Mammoth, that does sort of have a familiar ring to it. So yeah, either staying with the hockey club, colors, jersey, very very modern, and fans seem to like it. But if they change to the Mammoth, I don't know about the other one, but the Mammoth thing seems to be like a good name.
Well, now, what's going to be for a logo? Frosty the Snowman?
No, what is that? What do they call that guy from the Sasquatch or whatever?
Like Rudolph, like the 1967 Christmas episode of Rudolph. That's who I'm thinking of.
Yes, the Rudolph.
Yes, the googly eye dude.
The white snow monster.
Like, I don't know. I'm going to stick Utah Hockey
Club over here. They won't do it obviously because it's not in there. I would have loved the Utah Wolves to kind of pay
like the Coyotes,
to the Arizona Coyotes, without stealing their name and their branding, but kind of reminding people the history. I think that would have been interesting, but that's not happening here, folks. So
the Utah Helicopters, like the Winnipeg Jets.
If I had to pick, I'd probably go Utah Mammoth because I actually could see like a mascot. I could see
the googly eye dude
working. Mind you, what would be cool about the Utah Hockey Club, you could pitch it as the fan is the mascot. Right? Like do it that way, sort of like the Hamilton Tiger Cats with their Oski Wee Wee crazy dude. It's a similar idea to Utah. Tiger Cat, eat them raw, which I guess they love sushi. But
no.
Let's move on to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Chazzy must have been thrilled. Morfor and I were disappointed. The Leafs scored 1 goal again. They lose 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild. Who have been
the Princess got it, though. The Prince.
Wonderful. Prince Willie scored. That's
Willie!
That's not good enough. And everyone's going to go on and on. I've seen people who are, again, going on the Leafs need better defense and goaltending. If Anthony Stolarz was healthy, we'd be fine. We scored one goal. I don't care that Tavares and Nyes are injured. Cry me a bloody river. You still have Matthews and Marner and Nylander. They should be able to drive the offense. Max Domi has 3 goals. 3.
He got assists tonight.
Can I also point out, Nedeljkovic has 1. A goalie is only 66% behind in goals to Max Domi. Like, what the hell? And they're playing him with Willie Nylander now. So this shouldn't be an excuse. It is so bloody frustrating that this team can't score. And they're saying, oh, well, the bottom 6 needs to do better. Bobby McMahon.
Bottom 6 is good.
Every 3 games. Austin Matthews is supposed to be the best goal scorer of life. And he's not getting it done. This is 2 straight games without a goal again. And I don't care that he had 5 in the previous. This is a game where you need your top players to stand up. Mitch Marner again, quiet as anything. I didn't know it was game 7 of the playoffs already. His contract he wants better be 8 to 9 million, not 13. But I'm getting fed up. And I get, the new coaching structure is to play better defensively. That's bloody wonderful. But we still should be able to score 4 goals a game. No problem. If Joseph Woll can keep it under 3, the Leafs should win almost every night. And I get you're going to have some nights where you run into a hot goalie. I understand that. I was a goalie myself when I used to play when Got Flab was a little less of a thing. But it needs to change. There's a lot of topics we could go over, but more for your money. I'm going to start with you here, and let's talk about the new line combinations. Do you think we need to put the lines into a blender, get some yogurt and put it in there, and figure out what the heck is going on with this group?
100%.
10 times 10, mofo.
I think we're on the right track for putting Domi and Nylander together. Like I said last episode, I would have put Marner with Nylander, but, whatever. Why not experiment some AHL players? You called up Stevenson for 4 games there. Maybe give him another shot. He's leaks with Maurice and goals right now. Bring up that really cool Weston kid. I forget his name. Golkov or something, He's a Mr. Backcheck. He's really cool. Why not give Nylander's brother another chance? He never quite figured it out, but look at him last year. Wasn't it in Minnesota he did well? No, Columbus. Sorry, in Columbus he did very well, So they got a lot of depth. They got a lot of talent. I think we need to give Bobby McMahon more ice time. Why not put him with Matthews? I mean, he's got 14 goals this year. He's been killing it. He's been doing very well, So, and you can't, again, though, Joseph Woll, your first goal, he couldn't really help, it was a really nice goal. The second goal, it was a tip in, but again, just a deflating goal at the wrong time of the game. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I'm just saying that's something you gotta talk about, I know Jacob doesn't agree with me, and that's fine. He thinks I'm running the circus, but I'm not saying it's all Joseph Woll's fault. I'm just saying he allows deflating goals, and they can't blame the defense. The defense only allowed the third goal is empty netters. I can't even count that. So, they need to get more offense from their top guys. That's what it comes down to.
But then you're blaming Joseph Woll in 2 goals.
Because it was a deflating goal, okay? If he allows 2 breakaway goals or 2 one-timer goals or whatever, I get it. But the second one, it was kind of a tip-in, and I get it's tough.
Austin Matthews tipped it in!
Let me finish, Wolf. There's a difference.
There's
a difference between goalies like Joseph Woll and goalies like Marc-Andre Fleury and Cujo in your background and Martin Baudot and Patrick Roy. And you know what the difference is with goalies like Cujo? They found a way to win the game. Okay, doesn't matter how many goals they allowed. They made a big save when it counts. And I'm saying Joseph Woll wants to be there and he's not quite there yet. That's what I'm saying. If he wants to be a franchise caliber goalie, you got to figure out how to stop a tipping every so often.
Okay, you Leaf fans. So out of Winnipeg, I heard reports of how hyper they are about their top line, how dominated it is. So Why don't you guys put your top 3 guys out there right now? Add Willie on the top line, see what they do. Now, my
That's a good
second
point
question
too.
on the end of that is: you guys talking about your goaltending and your defense? Do you trade for a JT Miller and give up a Morgan Riley?
Not
No.
Captain Morgan. Okay, I
No.
think DJ Miller could help the team, but giving up Captain Morgan, I'll give up my first round pick for the next 17 years. That's no problem. But
Well, you guys want to score more goals? That's going to solve your score more goals.
Then we're gonna
I
lose
get that. We still
5-4.
need defense.
Okay, I have seen so many people go on about Trey Morgan Riley, and I want to put the nail in the coffin here. Number one, he's got a no move clause. He's not. Do you really think him and Tessa Virtue want to move out of Toronto?
He's from Vancouver.
That's true.
Yeah, right?
Number two,
It's a match made in heaven.
Riley, your most consistent leader is gone. And I don't know Austin Matthews being the captain is exactly working out the way they wanted it to.
It's
They're
not.
They're not going to strip the C from him.
They
but
can't.
You need assistants who are going to help out with the job. And we don't know about John Tavares' injury or his contract coming up next year. So riddle me this then. If you could convince Tavares to waive his no move, I'd be more willing to trade Tavares for Miller. I'd be
No.
willing to trade Morgan Riley for Miller. And
No, 100% no.
I'm going to tell you why before you jump all over me, Mr. More for your money. JT Miller's a lot younger. He's more of a playmaker. So you put him with a guy with like Nylander, then you have that 1-2 punch on both lines, having a setup guy and a sniper. I'm not saying I would necessarily make that trade, but I'd be more inclined to do a trade like that or trade Robertson, Domi, and 3 first-round picks for a guy like JT Miller than trading Morgan Riley, the captain, the leader, the one that's always there with the media when all the BS is going on. And that's more my route. Dan, you look like you want to say something so much that this camera's going to become 4D and you're going to go through it. So first of all, sit back, bro. Okay?
One.
Take a chill.
One.
Chill lozenge. But continue.
Why would Vancouver make that trade? Taking John Tavares and JT Miller? I don't know. John Tavares is older. He's kind of getting the end of it. Doesn't make sense. Number two, okay, we have witnessed right now in these few games we've been ranting about how terrible the Leafs are. And what's the one thing missing is John Tavares. You need him for the leadership. You need him for the face-offs. You need him for the power play. You cannot trade him. I think they got to bring him back next year, and I think they got to sign him for $8 million. I think he's about where he is. I think he's not worth the 11 and 12 he's making now, but I think he's worth about 8 still. I think he brings a lot to the team because the Leafs play better without Matthews than without John Tavares. That's just the blunt of it. Okay, and that's because of the leadership. So now you're talking about trading Captain Morgan and trading Captain 6 of Toronto. Who do you got left to be a leader?
We have the Prince. Come on. But
hey, I love him, but leader, he is. He does have leadership qualities about him. Look in the playoff series of Boston. He was the one who told Marner to set up and stop being a crybaby. So I give him credit for doing that. But at the end of the day, you need leadership presence like Tavares and Riley. I like your idea, Jacob, of trading Robertson to Vancouver because Vancouver needs to sell. They need young guys, not like John Tavares. And I think Robertson can be a very great 20-goal scorer on another team with more ice time. So I say trade Robertson and a first-round pick to bring back in JT Miller. I won't work in the cap space, obviously. So then that's when you got to give someone like Domi up to make the cap work. But, I like that idea.
JT Miller, you don't really need Max Domi anymore. Because Tavares can be your second-line center. JT Miller can be your third. But I do want to bring up another interesting point here about the Leafs that maybe this solves a lot of your issues. Your power play sucks. Let's just be honest here. It has not been consistent enough this season. It's either been red hot or colder than my chest freezer in the basement. So maybe is it time to tell Savard to peace out, Girl Scout?
Yes.
Or is it time to, even if you keep him because he also runs the penalty kill, maybe though someone else needs to take over the power play. The Leafs can spend unlimited money on coaching staff. So why not bring in a power play specialist guy As the power play hasn't worked, which number one, I think that's a way to get Morgan Riley going again, is to put him on the power play and simplify it. Put some bodies in front of the net, wrist shot from the point. That's when Riley was scoring 20 goals.
Yeah.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
Or you could do the thing that Leaf fans never want to do. Relax. It's a couple games. As Nylander said, it was 3 games. Well, we had his shirt off. Is it time to just leave the team alone? Wait for the injuries to come back. Trade deadline's not till March. You still have Yarncroke who's skating again. He brings in a guy that can get 15, 20 goals in a season. Do you just chill? Do you just calm down?
So chill.
Find your zen.
Just relax. I get Leaf fans are frustrated. I truly get it. But maybe it's time to just calm down. But let's get back into some energy and talk about Marc-Andre.
I just thought something quickly. Why not bring back Jumbo? Why not hire Joe Fortin as a power play coach? Jumbo Joe as a power play coach. He was on a power play when he played at the Maple Leafs. He gets along great with Matthews and Marner. Savard, you're right, is good on a penalty kill coach, so why not bring Jumbo Joe? No, that's a damn good idea, Blo. Okay, I can't say damn, but that's a bleeping good idea, Blo.
Fling flong his bat. This is the circus.
Jumbo Joe, power play coach, I guarantee before him $100,000, he'll take for job.
The guy's never coached in his life.
So great way to start. Better than starting off as a head coach like Wayne Gretzky in Arizona. How'd that work out? So let's start him as a power play coach and get it done.
Taking Matthews to a Zen garden instead of playing hockey. But
maybe that's what they need.
Let's move on before I go upstairs and just cry myself to sleep. And let's talk about Marc-Andre Fleury. Marc-Andre Fleury's in his retirement year, which arguably people think he could still play. He's got a 276 goals against average and a 906 save percentage and a positive record. Still playing very well this year, still playing at a high caliber. And I got to say, I love Marc-Andre Fleury. The guy's hilarious.
Me too.
But he was talking about facing Montreal tonight. And it's going to be an emotional game for him. It's last time ever playing in the Bell Center because he says he's retiring this year. He's done. He's not pulling a Tom Brady and saying he's retiring and then going, just kidding, and then coming back. He's done. So, Chazzy, I want to ask you about Marc-Andre Fleury. And do you think he should be retiring while he's still playing at a high level, or have you wished he would come back for another year just to keep that flower power going?
You always wish a legendary netminder like Fleury is always going to come back for another year, but he's given us a good run, and these guys know their body. They know when it's over, and he's going to go out on a high note, right? So I'd rather go out on a high note under your own sort of will than having someone or an injury cut that short for yourself. So and tonight the butterflies that will probably go, that he will experience, just the emotion that the Bell Center has, and just the spirit that building just has every game. I would be emotional for him, and it's going to be a treat for the Montreal fans to get to see him one last time shine as a Canadian. So like a patriotic Canadian. So.
I will say, as much as I'm a Leaf fan and not a huge Habs fan, it's on my bucket list to see a game at the Bell Center.
Oh, you've never seen one?
I've never been to the Bell Center, and that looks electric. That I've heard it's one of the best atmospheres in the NHL, and I don't know how I would get anything, since I'm just going to be real here. I don't speak a lick of French, so I'll need to bring a French buddy with me or a Google Translator. But I really want to go to a game at the Bell Center. But more for your money, you don't even...
We'll bring Max.
I
think the island's got to go on a road trip.
Bring the Shades. He knows French.
Yeah, and Shades, yeah.
But Dan, I know you were talking about off camera that you think Fleury, never mind retire, you think he's good enough to still play for Team Canada this year.
100% I do. Canada's goaltending's a little bit on the weak side this year. I think it would have been a great gesture, a great sign-off for Fleury. I think, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame candidate, first ballot Hall of Fame candidate. And I also think it's an end of an era. You think about that draft class when he had 2 draft seasons starting in one thanks to the lockout. You're getting guys like Fleury, Ovechkin. I know Fleury was the year before, but it was very close. Those early 2000s arguably is the best draft class in 5 years in the history of hockey. Like, the players that came out of it was phenomenal, and now we're finally seeing that era ending with Willie, Crosby, and Ovechkin being kind of a lot, and Malkin kind of being the last ones left, and Fleury, which he is ending off. And I think he's good enough for Team Canada. I think Mondragon is kind of like, yeah, he's been some goals he's allowed. I'm like, yeah, right. So I would take him off and put Fleury on. And I look at all the leadership he would bring in for guys like Bennington and Aiden Hill, because I think those two are lock-in. They're very good. I just think Mondragon is not as good as Fleury is. I think Fleury's not going to probably not going to win you for gold in the Four Nations at 40 years old, but I think you can bring in a lot of leadership, especially with Crosby being there too. You get Fleury and Crosby uniting again. You get Fleury playing a home game in the Bell Center. That would be legendary. And I'll just come out and say it. Instead of Marc-Andre Fleury retiring next year, why not Montreal do the right thing and sign him as their backup?
Well, number one, Montreal's got too much young talent in net for a guy like Fleury, I think, because he'd be a third string, and I don't see Fleury wanting to be a third string. But, Chazzy, I want to throw this at you here. Do you feel Sam Montembeault is being disrespected by More for Your Money? He's your Habs netminder, who they literally got for nothing, a waiver pickup. I argue one of the best waiver pickups I've seen in the last 5 years. Personally, if it's me, I would have taken Binnington off for Fleury. But anyways, do you think Montembeault's good enough for the Four Nations, Chazzy? As you're a Habs fan who watches more of their games, what are your thoughts on Dan's statement?
Well, he's a Leaf fan, so I get where it's coming from. No, yeah, he's under the radar. He's not well known. He's come in and really done a great job so far this season, and proven himself, right? So I think we just got to see more of him, hear more of him, and him just to make a name for himself. But yeah, no, he's undervalued, absolutely. So I do understand where more for saying it, because he's a Leaf fan. So yeah, no, I think he's just we'll see more of him, and I think he'll become more of a household name. And this might be the tournament that's what happens with these tournaments, right? There's household name players that are created out of these tournaments, and maybe it's his time.
He just set up the Leafs the first game of the year.
I like to add to Sam Montembeault, when he played in the World Hockey Championships last year, was phenomenal for Team Canada. So there's that too. There's that familiarity.
I forgot about that.
The Four Nations, we have Eriksson, who's replacing Markstrom for Sweden on the Four Nations roster. Tough for Markstrom with that injury, and I think that really hurt Sweden in this tournament, as I think Jacob Markstrom, he's a guy that when he's on is a Vezina caliber goalie, and when he's off,
one of the best in the league, yeah.
But when he's on, he's incredible. Austin Matthews has confirmed he wants to play in the Four Nations, and the Leafs have confirmed that as well. So as long as there's no major setbacks, not step back, he's not James Harden, he will be playing in the tournament. Unlike Alex Pietrangelo, who, Chazzy, you were reading some tweets about, and you're just like, you're losing your mind. Out of your mind. Out of your freaking mind. So continue.
B.O.B.
Well, since we've done this podcast, I've been paying attention more and more to some of the comments that are coming out about some of these players. But to call him unpatriotic Canadian because he doesn't want to play in this tournament is absolutely preposterous. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, sure.
I think it is too, because he's an older guy who I think he's more worried about being ready for his team for a playoff run. Mm-hmm. I think that's more of the thing than not being patriotic. I mean, now you do get guys like your Jordan Eberles and your Ryan Smiths who literally played with broken bones to play for their country, and I think that's where people are coming from with the Pietrangelo situation, because he is healthy. He's currently playing right now. But
does this tell us a little bit about how the players are looking at this tournament?
Yeah, exactly.
Are they taking it?
But then you get a guy like
they're not looking at it
as
an Olympic.
Yeah, because it's not like he's missing the Olympics. If he didn't go in the Olympics because he was older, I could see that being unpatriotic. But this is not the case. This is a money grab for the NHL. Let's be honest here.
But then I also want to talk about a guy like Mackenzie Weegar, who says he is hoping to cancel his trip to Mexico to come play for Team Canada. So
That's
he's a
pretty
guy that
sweet.
you might see replacing Petrolangelo. But an interesting take that I've seen popping up on social media. Drew Doughty is back, baby. He plays for Team Canada at pretty much every level. If he can put together a string of good games before this Four Nation tournament comes up, could we see the toothless wonder himself come to Team Canada?
That would be awesome.
It'd be fun. I don't think it's the right decision, but it would be fun. I still want to see Chris Tanev. That's who I want the guy to be. I think that should be the replacement. And not just saying that as a Leaf fan, but I'm saying that I think he's the best defenseman available overall.
Mackenzie Weaver's
time will
really
tell.
good too.
He is. Mackenzie Weegar's an excellent defenseman, so that could be the other option as well. But let's move on to Sid the Kid, who's no longer a kid. And Sidney Crosby is in the drama window about trade rumors. And you can tell by his quote, he just honestly doesn't care. He's like, I can't control that. I don't know where that comes from. I don't think it's something I'm going to discuss every time someone speculates something. I'm not going to answer that every time that happens. So the way Crosby's talking, I don't think he's being dealt. I don't see, also, too, I'm just going to say this. Kyle Dubas does not have the balls to go to Sidney Crosby and say, pack your bags, kid. I want you gone. But, Chazzy, what are your thoughts here? Do you think Crosby could be on the move, or do you think just the media wheel is spinning?
I think what was it, the last show or the other show, I had speculation that he was on the move.
You did. You said Colorado.
Which would be amazing. I'd pay anything for him to play with McKinnon and McCarr in the back end of that. Like, could you imagine? But yeah, no. Sid the Kid is a generational player. Like you just said, like he's going to have a say in this, and it's going to bring us back to that Oilers Kings trade with Gretzky back in the day, right? Like that's the magnitude of seeing Sid on the move. So I think he would have more of a. You'd think he would have more of a say in sort of a move, but we don't know what goes on behind those closed doors in Pittsburgh.
So then, more for your money, we know where Chazzy wants Crosby to go. Let's say, hypothetically, it's NHL 25, and you can turn off the no-move waiver clause. Where would you like to see Sidney Crosby go? And please don't say Toronto, because that would just literally make no sense.
No, I know. I think I would make Chazzy happy with this one. I think he's to play in Montreal with Marc-Andre Fleury next year. I think Sidney Crosby's been a huge Habs fan his whole life growing up. I think he'll be a great leadership for Nick Suzuki. I think he'll play great with Patrick Laine on his side. Montreal's got a very strong young defense that would be good for moving the puck up to Crosby. I see Crosby going to Montreal if anything was going to happen.
I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm going to speculate here. Who is the one team that always makes some big trade that you never think is going to find a way to get it done? Vegas, baby. Let's trade Sidney Crosby to Vegas.
Wow.
Can you imagine your top two centers being Eichel and then Sid the Kid? Wow. That would be exciting. And all of a sudden, Vegas is a cup contender again. They've been a cup contender every year besides of one since their franchise has been a thing. And they're going to keep pushing for that. So I think you could see that happening. Well, I don't see it happening, but if it could happen, I think Vegas would be the only team to have the Dan Campbell of balls and make a big move, being willing to move 85 prospects to bring in arguably the greatest player of our generation.
At that point, why not have Washington get Sidney Crosby and have Sid the Kid assist Ovechkin's record-breaking goal?
Now we're dreaming.
I'm just saying, I would be sick. Yeah, literally.
He's got some screws loose, boys. But let's get into our Saturday and Sunday picks coming into the weekend. We're going to go over a couple of them quicker, a couple of them a little more depth into. Let's quickly go over Flames versus Wings. Who are we picking here? I'm saying Calgary Flames. Chazzy? Flames
Wings. Wings.
More for?
Flames.
I think the Flames are going to get it done. Nazem Kadri is going to get 2 goals and an assist in a fight. Call him Gordie Howe.
Whoa.
All right, now let's get a little more in depth to the Leafs versus the Oilers. These are the 2 Canadian teams, and sorry, Habs fans, that have kind of set the standards over the last 5 years. Now, Winnipeg, mind you, is knocking right on that door. But these have been setting the standards of the best Canadian teams in the NHL. I am going to say the Leafs are going to start scoring again. I think Berube may give everyone a timeout until they start to play the right way. And I think the Leafs are going to get it done tonight, on Saturday night, sorry. Chazzy, what are you thinking, Oilers or Leafs?
I love when the Leafs play the Oilers. Give me the Oilers. I think they're just they're just going to fly. They're just going to fly. Oilers.
More for your money, Leafs or Oilers?
Leafs.
But before I literally want to smack everybody, we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll be right back to get into CFL news and the Raptors on a winning streak still. We'll be right back. The Streakers Island podcast is here, baby. We're talking NHL, CFL, NFL, and of course, those grassroots sports and so much more. Make sure you tune in every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Welcome to the island. Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. I only yell at you during the intro. Not coming back from break. Relax. We're going to take a chill pill. Now, you know who isn't chilling? CFL general managers. For people who don't know, the CFL has the most movement going on during free agency. We could see as teams adding as many as 15 players at free agency to fill in holes, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. But as of Sunday, February 2nd, the negotiation window opens. So what this means is other teams can now reach out to players who are under contract still and work on and put together deals. They have until February the 9th at noon. Now, if any deals are signed before that point, then that means they will be signed officially to those teams by February 9th at noon. So any offer that's been registered, it's on the table, proposed, it's been approved, it can't be rescindicated. They can't say, let's say a team has decided they're going to pay Kadeem Carey $800,000, making the highest paid running back in CFL history. And then they go, oh, wait, no, why did we do that? It's done. That's the way it is. They got to live with it. Just for anyone who doesn't know, we will be doing a Streakers Island special airing on Sunday. That
3 episodes in a week.
Over in depth all the teams' needs, top players on the board, where we think those top players are going to go. I can't wait for that show. And Chazzy, you better bring your chalk, or you're going to get educated.
Oh, I got my study. I got my study notes. I got my research. I'm ready to go.
Nice.
Now let's start talking about some of these players. And I gave the boys a big list. We're not going to go over all these guys. A lot of these guys we've already talked about quite a bit. But I want to talk Nick Arbuckle. Nick Arbuckle is probably the best backup quarterback on the market currently. Not a short yardage quarterback, the backup quarterback. So the guy that comes in if the starter gets hurt, but not the one that's going to do the short yardage plays all the time. Where do we see him going? I think he either stays in Toronto or he goes to BC. More for your money, where do you think Mr. Buckle Up himself is going to go?
That's why I say when he comes in the game, I'm like, buckle up! But, yeah, I think Buckle Up is staying as an Argo. You know, he won the Grey Cup. I mean, you can't ask anything better than that. And Chad Kelly is coming back from his major injury, which hopefully he'll be okay, but we don't know 100%. So I think the Argos are going to find the money to sign him up, and he'll be back as Argo.
Now, the interesting thing is as well, we know that Nathan Rourke struggled a little bit last year coming back in.
A little bit.
We've seen Arbuckle and Rourke train together this offseason. Right. I could see Arbuckle coming to BC. Now, a different guy I could see coming to BC would be Jeremiah Masoli. Jeremiah Masoli had 2 major leg injuries where basically his Achilles just blew up. one was off a really dirty tackle that was disgusting. The player's not even in the league anymore, luckily. And then the other one was a non-contact injury. But he played 5 or 6 games for the Red Blacks last season. He's healthy. He's good to go. He's been posting videos of him training. He looks ready to go.
It's amazing he came back.
So you do wonder, and Chazzy, I'm going to throw this at you a little bit. How important do you think it is for a team to maybe bring in a guy like Masoli just for his leadership?
Oh, I think it'd be significantly big. You get a guy with leadership of his caliber. His injuries are like rupturing your Achilles is a major one, and you lose a step. But to your point, is he that guy you want in your locker room and to rally the squad around and to really have a good go at the beginning of the season and carry that momentum? If he stays healthy, great. But time will tell with those sort of injuries that these players get with their Achilles.
They're tough injuries to come back from, but he actually looked pretty good when he was back. Like, he was running out of the pocket pretty well because he's a very mobile quarterback. He likes to be on the move. He didn't look nervous to get injured again, which I think that's something on your psyche that can be difficult. So I do wonder if Nick Arbuckle doesn't come back to Toronto, does Toronto bring in Jeremiah Masoli? Maybe he can help Chad Kelly recover from that injury mentally. Physically is one thing. Mentally is a completely different game. Now, do I think that's going to happen, truthfully? No, I don't. Pinball Clemens has said they're very close to signing Nick Arbuckle and Winton McManus. Kadeem Carey, it sounds like it's a 50-50 toss-up. Toronto has a lot of big-name players that could be potentially on the move. But I think Masoli would either go again. I would maybe see him come back to Hamilton. He had a lot of good success there. Helped to get the team the 2 Grey Cup finals where they couldn't get the job done. But more for you, you look like you want to say something. Where do you think Masoli's going?
Well, I don't see him as an Argo, actually. I think if they don't get Buckle up back, I think I'm going to stick with Cameron Dukes because Cameron Dukes did have over a 500 record when Kelly was injured. He's young, and he's good at the short yard quarterback. So I think we're going to keep Cameron Dukes. And he saved the money to bring in a guy like Kadeem Carey.
See, I think if they're going to go short yardage, I think they're going to question Calgary, and they're going to go bring in Tommy Stevens.
That would
Any
be cool.
team that is looking for a short yardage guy, Tommy Stevens is 6'7". The guy is. Have you seen the biceps on this dude?
Yeah.
He is a monster. Yes, he can't throw the ball much more than 15 yards, but that doesn't matter for your short yardage quarterback. Neither can Strevler, and he made it to the NFL for a couple years. So maybe we see Tommy Stevens go to a team again. Toronto, BC's really looking for a short yardage guy. Hamilton's not because Tunga Tungaloga's brother plays for the Ticats. He did a really nice job as a short yardage game. We could see the Rough Riders are looking for a short yardage if they don't bring back Shea Patterson. It could be an interesting one. Edmonton, they haven't re-signed Dakota Prucott yet. I don't think they can because they're paying Cody Fajardo and Trey Ford almost starter money. So that's a tough situation there. But speaking of Trey Ford, how about Terrell Ford, his brother? Arguably one of the best defensive rookies in the year last year. Had 5 or 6 interceptions with the Blue Bombers, which is a huge piece. Doesn't look like the Blue Bombers are going to bring him back. Where could we see him go? I think he stays in the West. I would love to see him go to Edmonton. Put the brotherly love together. And then they can sing, "We are family. I got my brother with me. He. Anyways, I think that's where he's going to go, or he's going to stay in Winnipeg. But let's talk about the biggest name on the list that I put here, which is Justin McInnis. So Justin McInnis was the leading receiver in the CFL when he was healthy. Around 1,300 yards receiving. He had multiple 200-plus yards games. And he's Canadian, which really helps with your ratio. We're talking teams looking for that. Calgary brought in Vernon Adams Jr., which I know, Chazzy, that's a move you've been really amped about to see what the Stamps are going to do. Justin McInnis and Big Play VA, those were all his 200-yard games. So, Chazzy, do you think you could maybe see Calgary saying to VA, we trust you this much, we're going to spend the big money and bring the receiver that you connected with the most in your career?
Oh, I think it's go time. So I think Calgary is going to put the foot on the gas pedal and do anything possible, bringing that big name wide. And give their quarterback all the weapons that they can and see what they can do this year.
Yeah, the CFL free agency is going to be absolutely insane. So remember to watch out for Sunday's episode. That's right. The Streakers Island, I won't yell at you. Don't worry. Podcast on Sunday. First time ever. I'm excited. Dan's excited.
3
Chazzy's
episodes a
excited.
week, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe we're hinting at that. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But let's move off the free agency a little bit, sticking with the CFL. We heard from Pinball Clements that Chad Cowie is recovering well, and it sounds like he could be ready for training camp. Now, we said could. There's going to be another update in February. Remember, so training camp, we're only about 2 months away now from CFL training camp. So that is great news for Toronto, but at the same time, I don't want Kelly rushing. If anything, I say let it rehab slow, and even if he's not ready for the first couple weeks of the season, the Argos prove they can win without him.
Exactly.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have him. That's a conversation you're going to have when Kelly's contract is up, truthfully. But as of right now, no, you want him on your team. But maybe even give him half a training camp and maybe only a series in the preseason and see how that leg is. And if he plays like that and it doesn't feel right, then don't start him the first couple weeks. Let him get comfortable. Let him build the muscle again. It's a big difference between walking to go get a bag of milk or walking down the aisle as he got married or running at a high level, high speed physical football game. In other news too, McLeod Bethel-Thompson is put out saying he's ready to be a backup and he's excited for the role to be the backup in Montreal. Now, as much as he's saying that, McLeod Bethel-Thompson is too damn good to be a backup quarterback. Let's just
100%. I'm surprised he said that.
So, do you think he's saying that just because that's the right thing to do more for your money? Or
Yeah,
do
I think
he means it and he understands at his age, this is just where he's at, like Marc-Andre Fleury seems to understand now in the Wild.
He's not that old. He's like, what, 35-ish, 36, somewhere around there. I mean, Tom Brady played until he was, what, 45 or some crazy thing? Like, I think he's just trying to be a good sport. I think he's trying to keep a spot in the CFL. I mean, he did go to the XFL or UFL, whatever, a couple seasons ago and didn't quite work out for him. So, fortunately, he wants a roster spot because Alexander, maybe he'll fall under the pressure of being a starter. Maybe he'll get injured. Who knows? But I think Bethel-Thompson, once he's in a roster spot, anything can happen. So I think he's too good to be a backup. So I think he's just trying to be a good sport and a good team player and just saying what he has to say.
It could be that, or it could be, we talked about on this podcast a lot about character guys and leadership. MBT is a guy that's been through a lot. He's been a journeyman playing in the NFL, XFL, UFL, and the CFL. Having success in the XFL, UFL, and CFL. Even the year he played in the UFL, he led the league in passing, led the league in touchdowns, and had the second best completion percentage. So I wouldn't really say it. I think he more came to the CFL because he missed what Canadian football is, as much as he complains about it a lot, as he certainly called out the schedule makers when there was a lot of 4-day weeks, which this year there are not many, so big ups to the CFL for fixing those schedule issues. We should see a lot less injuries this season.
Yeah,
but important. I personally think MBT's accepted his role. I think he knows he has a shot of being a starter again, but he knows now it's his time to mentor the future of the CFL. Which, you know what, I can say as someone who is a mentor towards youth in their careers, it can be a really fulfilling experience to be able to help younger people get ready for their next journey. And maybe MBT is at that point where he's comfortable. Maybe he's just saying that to keep himself quiet. And then as soon as Alexander has a bad game, he's hoping he can step in there and throw 300 yards and 4 TDs, which he did last year a couple of times for Edmonton.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You look at Edmonton, his stats in Edmonton last year, with no disrespect, Edmonton was not a top team in the league. Okay, they were not that good of a team. And you look at his numbers are better than backup numbers.
You could argue Nick Arbuckle's better than a backup. The guy won the MOP in the Grey Cup. You could argue Cody Fajardo was better than a backup, and he's going to be a backup for the Edmonton Elks. I think this is just
I don't believe he'll be the backup.
Right? You could argue that you could make the same arguments in the NHL. You could argue John Tavares is a top center on a lot of teams, but he's not in Toronto. You could argue that Ryan Reeves is getting more minutes if he plays for Utah. You could argue that Nick Suzuki should be going to the Four Nations, but he's not because there's so much talent in these leagues, and the CFL has the same I don't even want to say issue, but the same conflict for player talent level. I think there are only so many jobs, which you heard Chad Ochocinco talk about this when he played in the CFL, that these guys are just as good. There's just only so many jobs out there. But let's move on to the NBA and the Toronto Raptors, which I know we've been talking the Raptors a lot, but it's hard not to. And they've won 5 in a row now. First time all year. Beat the Washington Wizards 106-82. Now, mind you, the Wizards suck. But the Raptors also, not that long ago, were in a similar situation. Going into the new year, the Raptors were 14 games behind in a playoff spot, which for non-NBA fans, one game is like 2 points in any other system. I don't know why the NBA does it this way, besides just to confuse people. Now they're only 8 games out. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but does this change the way you're looking at the trade deadline? I know we don't agree on this in the podcast, and that's okay. More for I want to start with you. If you were the general manager, which would be terrible because you don't know much about basketball, but if you were, would you still be selling really aggressively, or do you maybe feel like you have something here when the team's healthy?
Well, in my notes, I said, you know what, this changes a lot of things. And I talked to Jacob off camera, and he reminded me the trade deadline's only February 6th. It's only about a week away. They're not going to make up 8 games in a week. So I give the boys a lot of credit for what they've done. They proved me wrong. They've built that winning streak. That's incredible. But I think at the end of the day, you can't move a calendar. The boxes on that piece of paper are the boxes on that piece of paper. You cannot change that. And the fact is, on February 6th, we're not going to be in a playoff spot. And you've had these guys for a few years now. They had their chances. I think they need a new coach, but that's another topic. But I think they still have to sell because I don't think they're going to be in a playoff spot February 6th. Now, if they become in a playoff spot on February 6th, so maybe they're only 1 or 2 games behind, then maybe that's another conversation. But if they won 5 in a row now, they're going to win another 4 or 5 now in a row? I don't think so. But prove me wrong. Challenge me on the Streakers app and prove me wrong.
But you're more looking at the Raptors scenario up there trying to win a championship today. They're not.
No, not
They're a
necessary.
rebuilding team. So, and you're saying they've had these guys for a long time. They got RJ Barrett last year, and he was injured for the first half of the year. Barrett and Barnes are turning out to be a pretty decent combo, especially to RJ Barrett being the Canadian kid. I kind of like what they're building here. I think they need more building pieces and not less. I think if you can move guys with expiring contracts for draft picks, I'm all for it. But I would not move Barnes or Barrett if they've really, I think they're the core of this team. But Chazzy, I want to throw this to you. What are your thoughts here? Would you make a big move, or would you almost like to see this team run it next year healthy and see what they could do?
My spidey senses is they might just let it run. They're playing better. Like you said, injuries are hopefully behind them. They got chemistry. They're playing well. I just I don't see them doing big moves. I just don't see anything big on that. They may move a player or two, but to move this roster, I just don't think Masai Ujiri has that intel yet on what he wants. And like you said, they're not looking to win the championship this year. They're building over the next few years. So I think it's bad timing to sort of make big moves.
I agree with you there. More for your money does not agree with us. But you know what? We are in a free country, which means we're free to go. But before we go, more for your money. I'm looking right at you. Anyone who's watching this on YouTube is terrified right now. What is your island mindset for the day? Which, for anyone who doesn't know, the island mindset is just some positive reinsurance that every little thing's going to be all right. More for it, the floor is yours.
Well, Bob Murray vibes there. Usually I do a positive quote. This time just something simple. And you know what? Sometimes someone's having a bad day, you don't even know it, and you can do the simplest little things to make someone's difference. And for me the other day, I was somewhere and I grabbed the door for someone behind me. And they just lit up their face like crazy. It made a huge difference to them, and they thanked me. And the reason why I think it was such a big deal is because of who the person was. And what I'm going to get to is it doesn't matter, can't judge a book by its cover. You still should do the right thing. It was a homeless person behind me who was struggling. And a lot of people would run away from that, and I didn't. I hold the door for that gentleman because, you know what, he's still a gentleman, he's still a human being, and I hold the door. So it matter of the point of the story is no matter who's behind you, if they're dressed up in a suit or they're dressed up in hand-me-downs, do the right thing, put a smile on your face, make a difference, and grab that door.
You know what, Dan? You are finally not running the circus by Dr. Spooky.
Yay.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers content? Make sure to follow Streakers Gaming on social media, Streakers Island on social media. Plus, tune in to our surprise, not so much for surprise anymore, Sunday show for the CFL free agency preview. But it is time for us to go. Have a good one. Enjoy life. Put a smile on your face, ear to ear. See you Sunday.
Bye-bye.